Hi everyone, I will introduce our guest for tonight, Sandy Robb, a Toastmaster for many years. Will share some life lessons learned through people who have come into her life, whether for a short or for a long period of time. And she will discuss the impact those people have had on her outlook and her behavior today. Afterward, she would like you to join in the discussion on how people come into our lives for a reason and how we benefit from having them as our friends, with a speech entitled A Reason, a Season, and a Lifetime. Please help me welcome Sandy Robb. Thank you.
Have you ever thought about the impact people you meet have on your life? Some people appear briefly. They are passing through, and just as quickly as they appear, they're gone. Some people come into our lives for a longer time, perhaps through work, education, a common interest, or a special circumstance. Then they too are gone. Some people are always there for us. Regardless of when or for how long they come into our lives, each person is important to us in their own special way. Simply put, people come into our lives for a reason, for a season, or for a lifetime. It's said that the people who come into our life for a reason are there to meet a need, whether we've expressed that need or even recognized it. They assist us through a difficulty or a specific situation. They may provide guidance or support, whether emotional, physical, or spiritual. They are there solely for the reason we need them to be at that precise time. I think of a woman who came into my life for a reason when I was 30. My mom was dying of cancer. I lived in Nova Scotia at the time, and Mom lived in Winnipeg. Because I worked shifts, I was able to fly out for 4 days every 3 weeks and spend time with her at the hospital. One time, Mom asked me to pick something up for her at the bay on the way into the hospital. I have no idea what it was she wanted. I can't remember that far back. But I arrived at the bay early on a Saturday morning, quite a while before they opened. It wasn't long before we headed over, a few minutes later, an older lady came along. And she too was early, so we started to chat. And it wasn't long before we headed over to a coffee shop across the street to enjoy our time together before the store opened. The woman captivated me with her story. She was from New Zealand, and her husband died suddenly at the age of 63. She had always wanted to travel the world, but that dream just never materialized. She had been a waitress all her life. And after her husband died, she saw her career as a waitress as a means to achieve her dream. She didn't have much in the way of savings, so in her 60s, she started working her way around the world, serving her customers, finding out how they lived, and making friends in every country she worked in. Now that she was in her mid-80s, she realized she may not stay healthy for too many more years. So she traveled to all the countries she had worked in to say an in-person farewell to all the friends she had met along the way. It also turned out that although they had never met, the restaurant she had worked at in Winnipeg was the Salisbury House, where my mother used to stop for coffee every morning as Winnipeg's first female taxi driver. From one brief chance meeting, I learned that life hands us infinite possibilities, even in times of sadness or despair. We just need to be open to moving on and realizing our dreams in different ways. I don't remember the woman's name, but I will never forget her indomitable spirit and the incredible way how, as a senior, she achieved her lifelong dream. When people come into our lives for a season, it's because we have a need to share, or to grow, or to learn. These people may bring us new experiences, maybe peace, maybe make us laugh. They may teach us to do something we've never done. They often bring us great joy before they move on. When I think of someone who came into my life for a season, I immediately think of Ingrid. Ingrid was in her early 70s and wanted to learn to scuba dive to be able to spend more time on vacations with her boyfriend rather than just sitting on a beach. She had tried diving once and failed miserably, but she was determined to learn. The store I was teaching for contacted me to see if I'd be interested in taking her on as a student. I was in my 50s at the time and had never been approached to teach someone that old, but I thought, why not? At first, she panicked every time she put her head underwater, but gradually she overcame her fear. And I realized I was in this for the long haul with her, just because there were some necessary skills she just wasn't able to master. And it certainly wasn't for lack of trying. Fortunately, her daughter had a house with a heated swimming pool, and we spent the entire summer practicing. There were plenty of tears, lots of laughter, a bit of swearing, but she never gave up. In the fall, Ingrid went with me to the local quarry where she completed her open water scuba certification. During training, she had learned to overcome almost every difficulty a diver could ever encounter. And as a result, she breezed through her open water checkout dives. She now travels the world with her boyfriend, diving in places I've only dreamed of, but never been able to afford. She and I are seldom in touch anymore as our lives have taken different directions. But I will always remember how strong Ingrid's determination was to accomplish something that seemed so far out of reach. She refused to give up. She taught me patience. It took a lot of patience on my part to see her try the same skill over and over and over without success, yet never quitting. There are times I wanted to say to her, Ingrid, you just can't do this. I'm so glad I kept my mouth shut. Ingrid also taught me to be creative. When conventional teaching methods weren't working, I learned to be creative in finding solutions that might help her to become a certified diver. From her, I learned that if we want something badly enough, we can achieve it. Sometimes success means never giving up. And lastly, there are people who are with us for a lifetime. They don't necessarily come into our lives when we're very young, like a childhood friend. Sometimes we meet them later in our lives, but we know they'll always be there for us. They too play an important purpose in our lives, as they help us to build a strong emotional foundation. What we learn from them, we use in all our other relationships and areas of our lives. When I think of someone who has been there for me for a lifetime, I think of my friend Bob, who I've known over 30 years. I met Bob when I first started working for him. Later, I worked with him as a coworker, and for many years now, we've simply been friends. Our team built a world-class call center, and Bob was the key to our success. One year, he was named North American Call Center Manager of the Year. He was and still is a role model for caring customer service. And whether you're his friend, his employee, or his client, you know he'll treat you with courtesy, understanding, and kindness. I've never seen him become impatient or lose his temper or say a hurtful word. And with my being somewhat impulsive and hot-headed, I've certainly given him cause to. I think what is most special to me about Bob is that he knows when to listen and when to advise. How many times I've turned to him when things went wrong in my life. Many of my other friends would immediately jump into solution mode and tell me what they think I should do to fix my problem. Bob always seems to understand when I just need to vent. And he sits there and takes it all in, without judgment, without offering a word of advice unless I ask for it. And when I do ask, I know his advice is always thoughtful and honest. He's been there for me as I've dealt with every crisis: divorce, job changes, illness, death. I know that whatever happens in the future, I can always count on Bob. Each person we meet comes into our life for a purpose and touches us in some way. Sometimes in a positive way, sometimes not. Some people come and go. Some of them linger for a while, and some of them stay. Think of all the people whose lives have touched yours, whether they've been there for a reason, for a season, or for a lifetime. They have helped us to shape our values and our actions. They are a part of who we are. Thank you.